how they're not considering Andy Dalton at this point in time is a little bit strange to me, because that seems like something that they could flip a 4th round draft pick for right now, make the Bears happy. Andy Dalton's the QB1, makes him happy, and fits into Sean Payton's system, and makes them, I'm not going to say a competitor again, but makes them more competitive than what they've got right now.
Yeah. And I think maybe that leads into the QB competition I think is most intriguing to me. And it's not even so much because of the competition on the field and who's performing better, but Dalton and Fields. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk about whether the Bears should just roll with Justin Fields to start the season. Week 1, go against the Rams on Sunday Night Football, just throw him into the fire, get the reps, work through it, or go with Dalton. But especially with the Carson Wentz injury as well, and we'll maybe get into that in a little more detail after this, but Jason from Over the Cap floated on Twitter the other day that, maybe Dalton could be a trade candidate for the Colts. And, you just mentioned for the Saints as well. Dalton's salary is, the contract for the acquiring team is nothing.
It's a backup quarterback.
It's $2.5 million. Yeah. It's the Bears.
That's a Trubisky contract.
It is. The Bears will pay the remaining $7.5 million no matter what if they traded him, but it's 2.5 for the acquiring team. That is nothing. And if the Bears feel confident enough, let's say Justin Fields progresses. Now, so far, the reporting has been that Dalton's looked like the better quarterback, which makes sense. He's a veteran. He's been around the block, right? Justin Fields has up and down days, up and down sessions within practice, but ultimately it's obvious he's the more talented guy. If Fields can level out his performance over the next couple weeks and the Bears feel confident enough to roll with him week 1, if some team like the Saints or the Colts offers them a 5th round pick, I think they do it. They move on. And especially if they haven't gotten enough trade interest in Nick Foles, which as of right now seems like they haven't, and you just roll with Fields as the starter and Foles as the backup. That's why that battle is so intriguing to me, because if Fields looks the part, Dalton becomes available and is a much better option than a lot of these other guys out there for teams that are stuck in these weird quarterback positions like the Saints you mentioned, if they don't like what they're seeing from Jameis or Taysom Hill, or like the Colts now who are waiting on this Wentz injury. Am I completely off base on this?
To me, this is like the antithesis of a quarterback battle. This is a quarterback battle between who's going to be the veteran backup to Fields. And it's saying, okay, we know Foles is on the back burner for sure, but if we can flip Dalton for something else and then still have Foles as the Super Bowl MVP guiding light behind him, then absolutely. And when you think about what the Browns did with Brock Osweiler, like, it's flipping $7.5 million for a draft pick. And that's not a terrible situation in this league. So yeah. I think that they hold on to Dalton for right now, and they play him in the preseason. They try to build his value up as much as they possibly can. And then if there's a late injury, Carson Wentz, I think, ultimately is probably coming back. I hope this is not a Bliss-Frank injury, because that's the one that they constantly think is just, okay, it's a couple-week injury and we're going to get back to it. Almost always ends up requiring surgery and they're out for the season. But right now they're playing it off as a minor injury. And so build up Dalton's trade value right now, get him some game reps, and then flip him once somebody gets injured, and you still have Foles backing up Fields, being that veteran presence that he ultimately needs to talk through the trials and tribulations that he's going to have.
For sure. And so Dalton came here to be the starter, right? Like that at the time, there was no other option. He was QB1, as infamously depicted by the Bears social media team. But if Fields takes over, let's say week 2 or week 3, even Dalton starts the year, plays the Rams, Bears get beat down. Fields looks ready. Week 2, they get him in, so he gets a few weeks of easy defenses before they get into the meat of their schedule. If Dalton's no longer QB1, he's a professional. I don't think he would cause a stink, but I think he would welcome a trade elsewhere to be that quarterback. Now with the Colts and Wentz, as of right now, he's had an MRI and I believe has had a second opinion on it, but they're going to take the route of him resting and seeing if it will get better over the next week or so, 2 weeks, and go from there.
He's out for the preseason at this point, which is why I'm worried that Silas Frank. The only thing that's keeping me hopeful that that's not the injury is that he is weight bearing right now. And typically with that type of injury, you put them in a boot and you try to take them off their feet for 6 weeks. But it's something that with how ambiguous they're being right now, you've got to think that it's a little bit more serious than they're playing off. Yeah,
that's the vibe I'm getting. And watching Twitter or, people play Twitter doctor. What seems to be the consensus here is if it is bad enough that he needs surgery, which they will know within a couple weeks, he could be out as long as week 6. Now, the AFC South isn't, crazy. You've got the Jaguars. Obviously, we know how bad they were last year, but with Trevor Lawrence in the fold, I tend to think they won't be as big a pushover this year. The Titans are obviously like probably your front runner there, right? If the Colts aren't without Wentz, I have to think.
No, for sure. But I mean, if you look at the Colts' first 6 games, Seahawks, Rams, Titans, Dolphins, Ravens, Texans. That's not an easy schedule to recover from. So
minus the Texans, but yeah,
they need to come out hot if they stand any chance of controlling that division. If Wentz is out the first 6 weeks, then not handing it to the Titans, but they've got a very, very strong hold on that.
Yeah, it'll be an uphill battle. And so far, all they've done is they've brought in Brett Hundley, who, by all accounts, is not a viable NFL quarterback.
He was third string for the Cardinals last year behind Streveler, right?
Struggling. Yeah. He's just not, he hasn't looked the part. And I get needing to bring a body in, and they're probably still in a wait and see position for the most part, which is why they haven't done anything bigger. But Brett Hundley's not going to fix their problems. Jacob Eason is not going to fix their problems, I don't think. Jacob Eason, for people that don't know, quarterback from University of Washington, drafted last year in the 2nd round. Is that right? Was he that high?
Oh, no. He was definitely.
I'm making that up.
Yeah. But great news. We can just roll with that 2nd round draft pick for the Colts from Washington. No, I want to say he was 4th or 5th round.
Okay, let's see here. 4th round, you're right. 4th round, pick 122 last year. Okay, so not quite as high of a draft capital in order to acquire him, but still probably not going to be the answer for them, I'm thinking. Haven't heard too much about how he looks in practice.
If they were going to pick up a ex-Packers quarterback, I would have thought that Blakey B was the first one that they turned to.
Yeah, I don't know. Bortles, I think, maybe fits more into the Taysom Hill mode for most teams now than, an actual viable NFL quarterback. But, we hope we wish Blakey B the best here. We are a pro Blakey B podcast. But yeah, I think the Colts are going to have to make a move. I feel like they're trying to be optimistic right now, and they're hoping for a miracle, but they're going to have to make a move, I think.
The Dolphins pulled Cutler out of retirement, right? What do you think the odds are of the Colts pulling Phillip Rivers back out of retirement? Just say, hey, give us 6 games.
That's actually not a bad idea. I mean, I think the Dolphins pulled Cutler out for $12 million. Not a bad post-retirement paycheck. If the Colts, they're not going to be able to get out of any money on Wentz's contract, right? Like,
No,
as long
they're
as
not.
he's.
But if they hold him out for a quarter of the season, then the first round draft pick becomes a second round draft pick, and all you have to do is flip Philip Rivers free childcare, and maybe you don't lose your first 4 games of the season.
God, Philip Rivers' childcare bill has to be absurd. Thank God he made hundreds of millions of dollars as an NFL quarterback. God damn.
But no, that's actually, at this point, a decent opportunity for them to hold Wentz out long enough for him to the conditional second round pick become a true second round pick if they can hold him out for a quarter of the season, still float the boat, keep them in competitive in the AFC South, and then that's again money. Everybody's willing to throw one pick. Would you not give $10 million to have an extra first round draft pick?
Yeah. I think that would be easy. I mean, what's the Colts situation look like right now?
They're in one of the better salary cap situations, actually, at this point. Ballard's been playing it very, very well. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head because they've done a couple extensions in the last week, but they still have 12 million plus for sure.
They're at 11.2. So
11
pretty close.
Plus for sure.
11 plus for sure. So, I mean, if they floated 10 mil to Philip Rivers, or even, like you said, if they're going into it knowing it's a 6 to 8 week thing, potentially, you offer them $5 million and say, you're only going to work for.
And again,
6
you're
weeks.
getting a first round draft pick out of this. That's the change between just somebody being injured and the situation the Colts are in right now, is that they know that it's between a first round draft pick and a second round draft pick right now. And if they can hold Wentz out for a quarter of the season, it reverts
and tread
back
water.
It reverts back to a second round pick.
Yeah. All right.
Honestly, that has a cascading effect because right now the Eagles have basically earmarked that they have 3 first round draft picks next year, trying to get either Aaron Rodgers or a top QB pick. And if that goes to 2 picks and another second, that changes the entire dynamic of the league.
Well, and the Eagles should know better than anybody that banking on Carson Wentz's health is probably not the most sound strategy out there.